We have a side event on the role, potential strategies of national civil society platforms, so on national level, on influencing migration policy. So why we're here, the intention of this roundtable is in that frame, we'd like to discuss and share experiences. We'd like to kickstart this discussion, and we'd like to have a learning event. It's more a learning addressing on how civil society organizations are facing this challenge, how they are addressing coordination on national level, and how they try to influence policy making on state level.
Colectivo Migraciones para las Américas is conformed by 133 networks and organizations throughout Mexico, the USA. As you may know, there is a big diaspora of Mexicans and a lot of Central American migrants in the United States, and also the Central American region. So we try to work as a network, but in a regional, from a regional perspective. We appear as this collective in 2013, and we call ourselves Colectivo PND Migración, it was named after the National Plan of Mexico, Development National Plan. Every 6 years, when we have a new president in Mexico, then the government does this national plan that drives all the policy in the country. Therefore, we needed to have migration in this national plan. Before, there wasn't migration. Like, migration was not a big issue and wasn't even mentioned in the Development National Plan. But because we organized ourselves, we were able to include migration at this level, in the main instrument that drives the lines of every policy that is taken and is driving our country. Also, after that, we achieved that. So you see, we state some objectives, political objectives. In order to keep the momentum going, we have to have some objectives to gather us and to discuss and to keep analyzing what is going on in terms of policies for migration. We advocated for what is now the special program on migration that appeared from 2014 and until 2018. And that is the basics of the whole programs trying to put migration as a transversal issue, no? In education, in health, also in access to justice. So migration could appear in every program, and including all the migration process, such as emigration, transit, immigration, and return. So Mexico has a very important geographical location. That means we are a country of transit. So we receive a lot of migrants, especially from Central America, that doesn't have documents. Therefore, their rights tend to be more violated. Hence, we need some programs that can allow them to be protected. And also people that are returning from Mexico, from the United States to Mexico with the whole deportations and how this impacts on family separation, etc., so on. So these are some of the achievements that we have built, but what we have also needed to get to advocate at this level is the openness of at least some parts of the government. We also have to find strategic political actors in order to push for this. And we have also tried to push for the focus of migration, gender, human rights, and development. And talking about human rights, we have placed as important, of course, the human rights of migrants and their families, but also the human rights of human rights defenders in Mexico, defenders of migrants. Because in Mexico, shelters and people that are working on the ground, they tend to get hostigated by not only state actors, but also non-state actors when they are trying to give shelter or provide humanitarian aid to migrants in transit that are irregular. So this is also something important for us to advocate for them and for migrants and for those that protect them. And I think that one of the big challenges when we talk about engaging, no, in order to advocate, it's also to push for institutional channels for participation. Because otherwise, we can try to advocate, but if there are not institutional channels made by also the government, officially by the government, then maybe our participation would not have this level of incidence of advocacy. So another example is the Civilian Advisory Board of the National Institute of Migration in Mexico, which is the only space that the Mexican government or this institute officially recognizes as a place of dialogue and negotiation with civil society. And it's written in the law. So it's important for us also as civil society organizations to be able to advocate to have these mechanisms as well in law for the government to respect us and to formally have us in the conversation. Well, one of the challenges that I think we have is the lack of resources, and also to keep the momentum going, to also always have like an objective, a common objective to achieve, and also the responsibilities. Even though we try to work as a network, sometimes responsibility falls into 1, 2, 3 organizations in a network that works with 133 organizations. So that is very difficult, and there should be clear rules or maybe working groups in order to spread the responsibility. Well, that's what I can share with you about Colectivo Migraciones para las Américas.
On m'a demandé donc d'insister sur les formules de mise en réseau des dynamiques associatives de la société civile afin de mieux porter le dialogue nécessaire entre acteurs étatiques et acteurs non étatiques. Ce qui a permis, à notre niveau, dans les années 2007, 2006, 2008, d'enclencher ce que nous appelions une diplomatie gouvernementale en jonction avec une diplomatie non gouvernementale. C'est quoi une diplomatie non gouvernementale? C'est l'ensemble des actions de plaidoyer, de mobilisation, de défense des migrants, de protection des droits des migrants auprès des institutions étatiques, internationales et sous-régionales, afin que la migration soit acceptée et considérée comme un droit reconnu tel que annoncé dans la Déclaration internationale des droits de l'homme, mais aussi comme un phénomène et un comportement humain. Parce que nous sommes partis d'abord du principe que la migration est un comportement naturel. Ayant compris cela et constatant l'ampleur du phénomène en Afrique subsaharienne, nous avions convenu qu'aucune organisation à elle seule ne pouvait prendre en charge la question de la diplomatie non gouvernementale pour régler le problème des migrants. Nous avions aussi conclu qu'aucun État à lui seul ne peut, quel que soit son gouvernement ou ses moyens, régler la question migratoire en tant qu'État dans une diplomatie gouvernementale. Et par conséquent, il fallait donc travailler à une jonction des organisations sociales, mais en travaillant d'abord dans chaque pays à avoir des plateformes pays, ce que nous appelions les plateformes nationales. Les consolider, renforcer leurs capacités, et au Sénégal, nous avions déjà en 2005-2006 lancé l'initiative pour que toutes les organisations membres de la plateforme des ONG nationales au sein du Conseil des ONG, le CONGAD, acceptent de se mettre ensemble dans un groupe qui s'appelle le groupe travail, migration et développement. Ça a été sous l'investigation du Forum social sénégalais dont je suis le coordonnateur. Une réunion les a convoqués et toutes les organisations ont accepté de se mettre dans un groupe de travail. Ça a donc permis, 2 ans, 3 ans après, de constater que les actions des ONG étaient beaucoup plus coordonnées et plus efficaces. Et en 2010, quand le Sénégal abritait le Forum social mondial, dont aussi j'étais le coordinateur en tant que chargé de la préparation, nous avons inscrit la migration dans les thématiques essentielles et demandé que la diaspora sénégalaise et africaine puisse s'impliquer aussi dans la commission migration. Ça a abouti à ce qu'on a appelé un réseau aujourd'hui qui s'appelle le REMIDEF, le réseau migration et développement, et qui travaille aujourd'hui dans différents projets et programmes comme le projet Lujna Tonkaranke, qui rassemble 8 pays africains et un pays européen, la France, à travers la CIMAD. Cette expérience du Sénégal nous a permis aussi de dire, si l'Afrique subsaharienne est un terreau de la migration, il faut donc essayer de voir aussi comment échanger pour qu'au Mali, qui est aussi un pays de migrants, au Niger, au Bénin, au Togo, en Gambie, en Guinée, comment arriver en Mauritanie, comment arriver aussi donc à avoir des structures qui travaillent sur la question et qui se mettent ensemble. Et on nous avait chargé à l'époque de faire une sorte de mission sous-régionale pour aller rencontrer les collègues, les organisations du Mali, de la Mauritanie, de la Guinée-Bissau, de la Guinée-Conakry, du Niger, pour que celles-ci acceptent aussi de se mettre dans une plateforme au pays. La recommandation aussi forte du Forum social mondial de 2011 à Dakar avait dit qu'il faut que nous dépassions les clivages d'organisation pilote, il faut que nous nous mettions ensemble. Donc, voilà comment, à partir de 2011, nous avons expérimenté la mise en place de structures sous-régionales. Et Lujna Tonkaranke a été un exemple probant qui réunit le Sénégal, le Mali, le Niger, la Côte d'Ivoire, la Mauritanie, le Maroc, l'Algérie, la Tunisie, plus la France à travers la CIMAD et des partenaires aussi en Belgique, en Suisse, en Italie et en Allemagne. Et la première phase de ce projet qui a mis des structures en plateforme a permis aussi de comprendre que nous avons été beaucoup plus efficaces en étant ensemble. Alors, cet exemple aussi de programmes transfrontaliers et internationaux entre des pays de même continent et entre des pays de différents continents, nous l'avons vécu et actuellement nous sommes dans la seconde phase du projet Lujna Tonkaranke. Après cette réunion de Bangladesh, de Dhaka, est-il possible d'envisager en perspective de connecter davantage les organisations sociales, parce que c'est seulement en les connectant que le dialogue avec les États, avec les institutions internationales, peut donner des résultats probants. En les connectant aussi, ça permet d'éviter de voir un partenariat limité entre les pays du Nord et du Sud à une seule et unique organisation qui n'ait pas la capacité de tout régler. Mais en les connectant aussi, nous pouvons avoir, à partir de ce moment, un espace global international qui permet, dans de types de réunions comme ça, de nous retrouver en tant que plateforme internationale, transfrontalière, qui dégage une dynamique communautaire et unique avec une démarche d'une diplomatie non gouvernementale bien coordonnée parce que partie de la base. Et cela permet aussi en même temps de faire de sorte que ce que nous disions dans des global forums comme celui-là ne soit pas seulement le discours de 3, 4, 5 dirigeants, mais ce soit un discours qui est porté, qui est restitué à des organisations de plateformes nationales, qui est restitué à des plateformes de points focaux sous-régionaux et qui est remonté ensuite là où il faudra le remonter dans des rencontres suivantes.
Good afternoon. Actually, the German experience, at least the national one on migration and development, is rather new. So when last year the German government announced that they will take the chair of the together with Morocco of the GFMD, Venro was pushed by some of its member organizations to also take up the debate on migration and development. So on a national level, Venro has now offered to be the focal point for the International Steering Committee of the Civil Society Days as a national NGO, and to bring the international debate on migration and development of international civil society to the national context, and to engage our national member organizations of Venro in migration and development. What I can share, just to take up from my colleague and previous speaker, is that of course we know that migration and development cannot be a national debate only. So within Venro, there has been a working group looking on migration a couple of years ago, and we've opened this working group again. And we are also active at the European level within Concord, which is representing all development NGOs of the European Union, like the NGO development organizations. And there we have been exchanging already with Made Afrique and with the Lujna Tunakare network. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that it cannot be a national debate only. Yeah, I already said that we try to intend to connect the international and the national discourses on migration and development, and actually to familiarize local civil society in Germany with the discourse that's taking place here, because it has not been rooted into the civil society discourse at the national level yet so very well. So we have to build capacity also among the migrants organization, among the development organizations, like among the broader civil society on what's happening here at the GFMD and why it is important for them to follow. So concretely what we will do, like when we have this Venro staff, is reach out to the member organizations, invite them for workshops, maybe have a website where we can share information. If we are successful, we try to come up with joint positions until June, but time is running fast, on migration and development. And I think it's also important to touch on other sectors like social NGOs, human rights NGOs, and of course we will also be in touch with the refugees activists in Germany. And last not least, I guess it's also important, and this is one thing that Venro has already good experience with, to get the media's attention for GFMD happening in Germany.
mdplatform.ch is a relatively recent initiative. We started as a project in 2015. We're supported by the Swiss Development Agency. We now gather about 70, 80 members, including development NGOs, diaspora, migrants associations, human rights NGOs, academia, or even individual academics. The idea of this platform is rather to act as a permanent mechanism to support members to exchange, learn from one another, meet first and learn from each other's experiences and perhaps develop joint knowledge together, but also to have a more structured, more coordinated, and hopefully also more influential role on policy dialogue. The modality for work, and I'll go back to that and I'll come back to that in a second, the main work is being done by the so-called thematic working groups, and we have 5 thematic working groups working at current. I won't enter into the details of these working groups, but so the project is relatively recent, a year and a half, but has already, I mean, the practice has already allowed to identify a couple of lessons learned, or to confirm a couple of opportunities and challenges. I'll try to mention 3 of them, and the 3 of them are specifically related to policy dialogue, I hope. A first challenge that relates to this platform, to this civil society platform, is what I would call heterogeneity of membership. I briefly mentioned it. We have a wide spectrum of members. It ranges from development NGOs, academics, a lot of very small migrants organizations. This means we have a huge heterogeneity in terms of resources, in terms of experiences, in terms of capacities. But I would say those actors, those organizations, they're also different in nature and in the way they work and see their work. Obviously, migrant association would function differently than an academic institution. So the idea behind the platform is to say, this diversity has a strength, and we can learn from it. Obviously, the challenge is how to change this diversity, how to use this diversity into a joint learning experience. So how to promote ownership, how to promote participation out of it. So the idea, obviously, that we are trying to implement right now is to develop activities, to develop a platform that is able to valorize the, we think, complementary activities, mandates of our members. And the modality for that are those specific thematic working groups, which we have now established. Those thematic working groups, I mean, the idea behind is not only to develop knowledge or to exchange knowledge, but also to develop capacities of perhaps members that have less experience on a specific topic. And obviously one side objective of a thematic working group is socialization, is to allow these actors to meet with one another, these diverse members to meet with one another, to exchange and to learn on how they complement one another and on what they do actually. So to come from a group of diverse organizations and to gradually construct a we feeling, an identity of doing things together. Two additional issues that I'd like to mention specifically relating to policy dialogue. At national level, most or a lot of dimensions, issues on migration. Migration is a transversal theme, that's a fact. And migration dimensions are still, for the time being, very much clustered according to departments or different perspectives, which may actually compete with one another. It may well be that the development agency does not analyze migration the same way the Interior Ministry or the Ministry of Economy or Trade and Industry analyzes migration. So what do I want to say with that? The migration platform so far is supported by the SDC and by the Swiss Development Agency, which is a chance. And we have a very regular dialogue with SDC. We have open doors with SDC, which means we can easily exchange on development policy with our government. We were, for the time being, less active in discussing with other perspectives from the government with other departments. And we're not yet discussing domestic-related issues on migration and how they may link to the capacities of migrants and migrants' organizations to project themselves as actors of development. The fact that policy dialogue for some of our members is still something very abstract. How does policy dialogue, how does the GFMD or how does policy dialogue at national level relate to their day-to-day work, to the day-to-day work of our members, and how can they contribute to that policy dialogue? And this is an issue, this is also a challenge for us. The approach we propose is really to translate the implications from one level to another and to accompany our members, and in particular the smallest one, to analyze the issues at stake and to accompany a substantive discussion on what could be the priorities, their priorities, and what could be common priorities to be defended in policy dialogue.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your patience to attend this side events during the lunchtime. What I can start with the reference especially made by the GFMD chair just in the opening of this Civil Society Day, who mentioned that, yes, there is really demand for a hybrid kind of collaboration between civil society and the government, and why it is important. It is important that if we really want to bring down the global level of compact framework at national level and also grassroots level, so that it can bring change for the migrant workers in their life. So from that context, I really appreciate to organize this event, because it's really important, and it was really enlightful to learn the experiences from the friends from different countries and different regions. My friend from Senegal also mentioned that it's really important to have two kind of approaches: it's government approach and non-government approach of advocacy. And why it is really important to come up as a coalition or as a platform of organization. And I will definitely say that this kind of coalition and platforms provide strong opportunity to engage with a coordinated civil society voice. I repeat that, coordinated civil society voice, rather than dealing with multiple and disparate CSO. So if we really want to bring up our issues from grassroots to the global level, then it's really important to have coordinated CSO voice. So with that, I will experience, brief experience of the civil society network in Bangladesh. And I will say that in one hand, Bangladesh has started national level platforms, especially for the organization working on migration since 2005. So in what sense, one sense, it's a long experience. But on the other hand, I'll say that there were many ups and downs among those platforms. And I'll say that, yes, those platforms didn't come up with some kind of solid experience and some kind of solid initiatives. And that's why, when the GFMD approached, then the representative of all the civil society platforms and the organizations directly work on migration, we came up with the aim that, yes, we can form a coordination committee, and this coordination committee is very much focused on the issue of GFMD 2016, because the main objective was like to facilitate the process to organize the national level organizations to come up and work together to make the global forum and on GFMD.
There is a lot of challenges, but my question is, there is no alternative also. Without network, without a strong network, how we can achieve some of the very strong goals and targets, particularly for the migrant workers, protecting their rights. So we know that in Bangladesh we had several networks. Also, we are trying to make one networks, national level, which is actually we built ourselves for GFMD, organizing GFMD and other. So let's see how we can, but there is a lot of, good practices or best practices around the world. So this is the forum we understand from others that they have achieved, strong networking. But I have also some of the experience, because if you see the MFA, Migrant Forum in Asia, I was joined in 1998. That time we had a town conference, and after that you see more than 300 organizations member of the network. Also, it's not only the regional network. MFA is now like a global. They are taking a lot of initiative in global issues. So I believe that we would have also, some kind of linkage of different networks in different countries or regional and global level. That is also important. So I believe that if there is a lot of challenges, but still we have to make networks and all the levels, like local, national, regional, and global level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had one issue was resources, and on national platforms was mentioned. I have one question to the representative of the Swiss Foreign Ministry. Why did you support, or why do you support the creation of national platforms?
Thank you very much, Peter. My name is Peter Mona. As Peter said, I represent the Swiss government, and hence also thank you very much for having given us, also the governments, the possibility to participate in the Civil Society Days. And I will say that many times because it's important to reflect on the fact that on the other side of the GFMD, we are not quite as far as on the Civil Society Days with regard to this cooperation between civil society and governments. And that's actually exactly why we have decided to put the resources forward for the creation of a Swiss national platform of civil society on migration development, because this continuation of the dialogue doesn't only happen within the GFMD. It has to continue also at the national level and has to be a continuous dialogue on all issues that are being addressed in the GFMD. If we come to Dhaka and then to Berlin next year and so on, and we just meet once every year and nothing happens afterwards, I think there are tons of better ways to spend the money and the time than to organize these meetings. But because of the engagement of so many civil society actors, as you assembled here on the panel and that are here on the room, that ensure that the dialogue continues also at the national level, the relevance of the GFMD becomes much more palpable and much more real with regard to moving forward the migration development agenda. An agenda that is now rooted in the 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development, that has the relevance to change the world, to change the lives of migrants, to improve on their protection of the human rights of migrants, to enhance the contribution to development. And this is where I think civil society actors have to come together. And Pascal mentioned it. It is a very heterogeneous group. You have human rights activists, you have people working on humanitarian issues, academia, you've got diaspora organizations, migrants organizations. And creating a platform such as the one that you have built with our funding, but it is really sort of your work, is in our view essential to also allow a much more coherent discussion at the national level on a very broad issue of migration development. And this should ideally then also give you the possibility as civil society in Switzerland to influence not only the dialogue in the GFMD, but very much also the dialogue in Switzerland on migration issues, and thereby also echo the discussions that you are collecting here in Dhaka and in other places and bring it back to Switzerland, where the perception of migration is as challenging as in many other countries of the world. So it is, for me, extremely interesting to have seen how much other platforms exist in other countries, because this discussion has to continue, and it has to continue at all levels, and hence the importance also to support national platforms. Thanks.
Okay, so maybe first thing I want to share, we have the tripartism is applied in the case of migrant CSOs and trade unions. So this is a formal structure for dialogue with government. Well, the employers are represented by the recruiters and civil society and trade unions. So whenever there are big issues that impact on the migrants, this is the platform that we go to. Secondly, particularly on the issue of migration and development, already we have in the law, the approach is not to confine it at the national level, but we have started to cascade the whole issue of discussion at the local level. This is easy in a way to do because we already have in our law mandate for the local government units to respond to the issue of migration. Secondly, there is also official recognition of the role of civil society. But what facilitates the process is the fact that there is a joint migration and development Philippine program in the Philippines. So while we already have all these stakeholders ready to take on the issue, somehow it enhances the presence of JMDI, enhances the process. And of course, I'm happy to also report that in September of this year, Quezon City, it's a city local government, hosted the 3rd Mayoral Forum on migration and mobility and human rights. And I think it adds up to the whole agenda of ensuring that migration and development is really done not only usually at the talking level at the national, but concretely at the local level. And of course, as listening to Mr. Pascal, the whole issue of compartmentalization, which is a very real issue, one mechanism to address that is this social development cluster, where all these agencies of government involved on migration is into it. And the focus of the issue is how migration relates to development. And of course, I think it is also crucial that the National Economic Development Authority, which is mandated to do the development plan, is very much integrated into this whole process, including this whole program of the SDGs, so that we have a holistic view of what's really happening and how the different stakeholders can do their role.
Thank you. My name is Emeka Obios from the Civil Society Network on Migration, Nigeria. Mine is also not directly a question, but responding to your expectation of this conference. What do we put forward to the organizers in terms of the continuation of this platform for next events? First, I would suggest that it is necessary that in subsequent meetings, GFMD or global network, as Shakiru has said, that we create this network or this platform where national platforms meet to share experiences, best practices, and what could be done in going forward. Then sharing experience also on sustenance of networks on global or national levels. I think something each network has to be conscious of is to avoid the tendency of the network taking up the primary task or goals of individual groups. Because when we do this, we lose the identity of members who will now feel threatened by becoming part of that organization. And then I know also people have raised the issue of financing and sustaining the life of such networks by funding. And this is necessary that we put forward. I think governments are very open to collaborating with networks for various reasons. One is that it ensures coherence among civil society, and also they have an access, easy accessibility to the whole network of civil society if we have a very functioning network. Thank you.
I'd like to thank very much the panelists of this side event for their participation and sharing their experience. I hope we're going to submit this to the International Steering Committee that we'd like to continue dialogue on national platforms. Thank you very much, everybody, for your participation.